You know what just showed up at my door? My 7600 sample from AMD. You know what? Let's click run a benchmark on it. And this is literally the first benchmark that I get to run, and yet the review embargo lifted this morning, and this card was not here this morning. So in addition to, I've seen a lot of the other reviews people have published today, which spoke to AMD maybe not having things all together. They gave one price of $300, and then later gave a price of $269 or $270 for this card when they realized it was overpriced. And then apparently that was at the last minute, all of that. Well, my review sample, I confirmed with them many times that I should be getting one, and I am thankful that I do get a review sample. I'm not trying to sound ungrateful, but it is a little frustrating when it comes in the mail after the review embargo lifts, which makes it a little bit harder to give you guys my own benchmarks. This is literally the first one I am able to run. Looks like the card is running Cyberpunk 2077 at 1080p ultra settings pretty well. But anyway, that doesn't mean I can't give you guys a lot of thoughts, because I have watched a whole bunch of other benchmarks and looked at the current pricing and the market, and do have some information that could be useful to bring to you. Let's see how our 1080p Ultra benchmark plays out, though, before we go. And it looks like we hit 85.5. All right, so anyway, you can confirm you can at least play Cyberpunk at 1080p Ultra. Now, let's look at what happened on people who were able to do a little more benchmarking than I was today. So the main card that I wanted to compare it against was the RX 6700 10GB. This is the non-XT version. And I searched so many reviews before I found one that actually tested it, because this is the card that this needs comparing with. A lot of other benchmarkers were comparing it more against things like the RX 6650 XT, the 6600 XT, the RX 6600, its actual like namesake predecessor, and those are all reasonable comparisons to make. But it's the 6700 XT that not XT, but 6700 that I think is the most interesting. Now, let's look at some numbers here. First of all, I did a little bit of percentages here. So basically, if you take the Tom's Hardware numbers, we can see that the RX 7600 is coming in basically 4% faster than the 6650 XT. A similar chart like this coming in from Linus Tech Tips has the 7600 5% faster than the 6650 XT. So it's very similar at a number of review outlets. Again, we have within a 4% difference here at Tech PowerUp. So basically, the RX 7600 is a 6650 XT. Slightly faster, still has 8 GB of VRAM, and comes in at $270. Now, the problem here, well, let's go with the 6650 XT first. The 6650 XT, if I wanted to buy one right now, costs $240. Now, I believe this deal is relying on a $10 mail-in rebate. However, this promo code at Newegg is instant. So basically, I could have already bought a 6650 XT months ago for a lower price and achieved exactly the same performance. Here's one available on Amazon if you don't want to go through Newegg for $250. We got one at $260 here at Newegg. So there's several models available, all of them less expensive than the new 7600. And this is why, if AMD had gone with their original plan and charged $300, this would have been an absolute disaster. At its current price, it's just kind of a bad deal compared to compared against the discounted 6650 XTs. But the other card that I think is really important to compare this against is the 6700 non-XT. This card, I don't think AMD ever sent out review samples of these, so I don't think most review outlets have one to test. That's why, you know, Tech PowerUp here didn't compare against one. They have the 6600 XT version. Linus Tech Tips had the 6700 XT version as 19% faster. Tech PowerUp has it as 14% faster. All of that. But the point is, it's not the XT version that's the price competitor. If we go into to PC Part Picker, we're surveying new lists. These are new. We're not even looking into used, where you get even better deals. But 6700 non-XT is a 10 gigabyte card that you can get right now for $280, although it has gone as low as $269, the exact same price as the RX 7600. Now I understand these are discounted prices, but that's very important because again, if we go to this Tom's Hardware data, and the reason again I went with this one is they're the only review outlet I could find who tested an RX 6700 10 gigabyte, which is frustrating, guys, because I specifically bought a 6700 10 gigabyte specifically for doing a head-to-head comparison to get to you guys today as my main day one review of this graphics card. But anyway, I did all the benchmarks on the 6700. I just didn't have a 7600 to compare it against. But anyway, if we go off of Tom's Hardware's data, we end up with the 6700 is about 6% faster. Now, I honestly don't care about that. 6% faster is basically nothing. You wouldn't notice the difference. It's nice to have, but the main difference here is you get 10 gigabytes of VRAM instead of 8 gigabytes of VRAM for basically the same price. So I really think that the 7600, it just needs to cost less against the cards that are already on the market. That's the problem with it. The 6700 costs basically the same, is slightly faster, and it has 2 more gigabytes of VRAM. Now, is that relevant? There are games right now that stretch the abilities of an 8 gigabyte card even at 1080p. If you look at some of the reviews I just did of the 4060 Ti, the reviews other people did of the 4060 Ti, a lot of us found issues with 8 gigabyte cards at maximum settings even at 1080p. And in AMD's own review materials, they admitted that certain games would need to get tweaked a little bit to fit within 8 gigabytes of VRAM. Now, I'm less upset at an 8 gigabyte card costing $270 than I am at the 4060 Ti coming in at $400. Completely different price class with completely different expectations. So it's not that I necessarily hate the fact that the 7600 has 8 gigabytes of VRAM. I think it should cost a little bit less. I'd like to see it, well, again, I mean, the 6650 XT basically gives you the same performance in VRAM for $250. So the 7600 should probably also be around $250, and that's not even, anyway, just whatever. But the point is, the fact that you can get a 6700 with 2 more gigabytes of VRAM, which is going to help you out quite a bit in these situations, for $10 more right now and sometimes the same price, just tells me that that's going to be absolutely the better buy until the 6700 10 gigabytes go out of stock. And again, expect a detailed head-to-head comparison from me sometime in the future. Now I'm going to have to find the time to actually run all of the benchmarks on the 7600 when I was supposed to do it over the weekend when I had time. And anyway, whatever. It is what it is. So I have to say, if you're buying an AMD GPU right now in the $200 to $300 range, I think the 6700 10 gigabyte is the buy. And it's very disappointing that a brand new graphics card launches and doesn't upset the price segment. It actually, you should probably buy the 6650 instead if it costs less. And if they cost the same, then you should buy the 7600. Is there any reason to buy the 7600 over the 6650 XT? If the 6650 XT costs less, or even the 6700 10 gigabyte. I mean, the only real generational difference we're seeing here is that the 7600, the new 7000 series, has a better encoder. So that's nice, at least. It does have the AV1 encoder, so that could be useful for content creators or streamers. If you're not a content creator or a streamer, that's pretty irrelevant to you. Now, the other thing I'll say before I close this out, though, is it's at least nice to see name-wise, so compared to the 6600, this is a 28 or so % improvement, which is very nice. You can see, again, in some other reviews, we're getting some different amounts here, but in all of the reviews, it is noticeably faster than the 6600 non-XT. And again, using Tom's Hardware's data, I did the math, and it's 28% faster. And it's 28% faster. Now, right now in the current market, the 6600 is by far the cheapest car. Like if you're coming in at $200, the 6600 now only costs $200. So let's check this out. So if we do 270, let me go to the next line here. So that wasn't the calculation I wanted. If we go 270 divided by 200, we see that this is a 35% price increase. So you're getting basically a 35% price increase for a 28%, let's call it 30% more performance. That's at least pretty even scaling, and then you do get the AV1 encoder. So in other words, this card is basically fitting into the current pricing, roughly, of AMD's last-gen offerings in the current market. Now, it's only fair, though, to say that the RX 6600 non-XT originally launched at, was it $320 MSRP? Somewhere around there. So this is actually coming in at a lower MSRP and offering a significant performance increase over it. So I will say that at least from a generational performance and price uplift, it's actually quite good when you compare the MSRPs. It's coming in at a lower price and is noticeably faster. The problem is that AMD's 6000 series has been so heavily discounted now that there is just not a lot of reason to buy the 7600 at its current pricing, while the 6000 series is still in stock. So as the 6000 series dries up in stock, then the 7600 basically offers you about the same value that the 6000 series has already offered you for months. So it doesn't seem like there's a whole heck of a lot to get all that excited about. Now, anyway, I guess I have a whole bunch of benchmarks to do that I don't currently have time to do because I still teach full time, and so, Anyway, let's go ahead and sign out here by just killing it with, here's how I feel. Let's torture this graphics card for showing up late. Let's kick on path tracing and watch it stutter, guys. I'm not doing this to be mean. Basically, I'm just very frustrated that I didn't get this card on time. I bought the 7600, the 6700 non-XT and the 6650 XT specifically to have this day one review out for you guys, and then I didn't get the actual card. And that's just very frustrating. And AMD is not only shooting itself in the foot with apparently changing the MSRP on reviewers in the middle of their reviews, not even getting me my review sample, and then not, but then they're also not even able to compete with their own graphics cards in terms of pricing from the previous generation, at least where they are now. So anyway, this is how I'm going to torture the graphics card for a few minutes before I maybe find the time to start getting a bunch of reviews done to get you some sort of head-to-heads. I hope all of you have an excellent day.